I just bought every Nintendo console ever, and today we will be taking a look back at each and every single one of these consoles and the history behind it all. So let's see how far we've come over the past 40 years of video games. Let's do this. Now, before we hit the start button on our controllers, you should hit the subscribe button down below. See what I did there? No? Okay. Starting off, we have the first Nintendo console to release in the US, the United States of America. Before that, Nintendo was Japan only, and they had a console before this first one, which was the color TV, but that never made it to the States. That also was a flop console, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, Nintendo brought things back up, and that of course is the Nintendo Entertainment System, or also known as the NES or NES, whatever you want to call it. The NES released in Japan as the Famicom on July 15th, 1983, and later in 1985 it released in October of that year in test markets. Now Nintendo brought things back up with the video game market and the video game industry as a whole, and pretty much saved it. Because every company was trying to make their own console, do their own thing, and there were just too many on the market and no one was buying them. But Nintendo came in and saved the day and stepped it up with this bad boy, and now we're here, and this is where it all started, all the way back in 1985 here. Now, the Nintendo Entertainment System, with its counterpart, the Famicom in Japan, both combined sold over 61 million units, which is pretty insane for back then, and now that was during its life cycle. And the NES was around for quite a while back then, and the consoles usually only had a life cycle of 4 to 5 years back then, so they didn't last too long, but the NES lasted quite a while, and they kept it on the market for years, and it sold really well and did numbers. Now, of course, we're gonna have to play these and try them out and make sure they work and see how far we've come and how gaming has changed over the last 40 years. Now, we have to do it with some style, of course. That being this bad boy. Let's do this. The NES controller model NES 004 revolutionized gaming with its rectangular design, featuring a D-pad, A/B buttons, start and select, abandoning the bulky joysticks. The best-selling game on the Nintendo Entertainment System is Super Mario Bros., with 40 million copies sold worldwide. The Nintendo Entertainment System is an 8-bit console that uses typical renders as a maximum of 25 colors at once, from a 56 color system palette, utilizing pixel tiles. Alright, here we go. Super Mario Bros. On the NES. This is a lot different from all the newer ones that we've gotten recently, like Super Mario Bros. Wonder, or even all the new Super Mario Bros. That we've gotten the past few years. This is definitely a game I like to go back to every now and then just to look back at. It's really fun. It doesn't really get boring. I mean, I can probably get to World 8, and then I'll probably be cooked after that. And then that's when I put it down. So I probably play this game about 10 to 20 minutes each time I try going back to it. But it is still fun to look back on. This is the console that my parents and uncles and aunts all grew up with and all played, and they all have tons and tons of fun memories of, and it's just cool to see how it all started. Next up, we have the Super Nintendo, or also known as the SNES or SNES, whatever you want to call it. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System, released on November 21st, 1990, in Japan as the Super Famicom, followed by August 13th, 1991 in North America.
The Super Nintendo Entertainment System sold approximately 49.1 million units worldwide during its lifespan. The SNES controller revolutionized gaming with its ergonomic dog-bone-shaped 4-button diamond layout, A, B, X, Y, and now the introduction of the top-mounted L and R shoulder buttons. The best-selling SNES game of all time is Super Mario World, with over 20 million copies sold, largely because it was initially bundled with the console. The Super Nintendo uses a 16-bit CPU and two 16-bit picture processing units to render graphics. It supports a 32,768 color palette, displaying up to 256 colors on screen at resolutions up to 512 x 448. Alright, so let's jump into it. Super Mario World. The next step into gaming with the new graphics, improved graphics, and all sorts of type things with this new system. The Super Nintendo has a bunch of new buttons with their controller, and so far already the gaming experience has already been better with one, popping in the cartridge was a lot easier this time around instead of trying to force it and slide it in the NES. This time you can just pop in and play, super simple and easy. And of course, number two, the graphics look incredible for its time. To me, I feel like they still hold up to this day, and they honestly aged pretty well. I mean, you look at a game like Donkey Kong Country, think about it. I mean, these games came out in 1992, and they used 16-bit graphics, and they hold up very well in 2026. I mean, Donkey Kong Country, that game looks incredible, to this day. Same thing with this. I mean, especially it's a big step up from Super Mario Bros. On the NES. This takes a big leap in the next step in graphics, and it still holds up and looks very, very good.
Now, this next one you may not have even heard of. Some may consider this a console, some may consider it a handheld, but since it's not technically portable, we're going to count it. And some may even consider it a console, but we're going to count it here. That, of course, being the good old Virtual Boy. Yeah.
The Nintendo Virtual Boy was released in Japan on July 21st, 1995, and in North America on August 16th, 1995. The Nintendo Virtual Boy sold approximately 770,000 units worldwide before being discontinued. The Virtual Boy controller is a unique M-shaped symmetrical and ergonomic device featuring a dual D-pads, 6 buttons A, B, start, select, and L and R, and a rear-mounted battery pack. Mario Tennis, though it was the best-selling title by default because it was bundled with every Virtual Boy console sold at launch, the Nintendo Virtual Boy is a 32-bit console featuring a 16-bit processor, but its graphics are distinct for using a 4-level red-on-black display. It utilizes 2 linear LED arrays with mirrors to create a 3D effect at a pixel resolution. Alright, here we go. The good old Virtual Boy. Yeah, it's crazy to think that this was the first VR headset. Yeah, it's not portable at all because you can't strap it around your head and walk around with it. It's got the stand on the bottom, as you can see, and you have to sit down and look through it, or lay on your back and just put it on your face, and you could play it like that too. Yeah, the graphics are red and black. They do hurt your eyes, and that's partly why it failed, and partly why no one knows about it. And as of recently, as of recording this video, Nintendo is now bringing it back to Nintendo Online with the new accessory with it as well. So it's getting its spotlight once again, which is kind of crazy to see in 2026, after this being a failed console and not really anyone knowing anything about this thing. But yeah, it's a unique piece of hardware and a unique piece of history to look back on for sure. And the 3D effect isn't that bad. I mean, you play a game like Mario Tennis, Teleroboxer, or there's a few others on the list that you can play, and just don't play it too long or you'll hurt your eyes.
But then everything changed with this next one, the next step into the future of gaming. It revolutionized and changed things up a little bit, and it was the next step. That, of course, is the Nintendo 64, or also known as the N64.
The Nintendo 64 was released in Japan on June 23, 1996, in North America on September 29, 1996. The Nintendo 64 sold approximately 32.9 million units worldwide during its lifetime. The N64 controller revolutionized gaming with the first widely adopted analog stick, enabling 3D movements in titles like Super Mario 64. The best-selling game on the N64 is none other than Super Mario 64, with nearly 12 million units sold worldwide. The Nintendo 64 utilizes a 64-bit CPU for processing, but its graphics pipeline primarily operates in 32-bit. Alright, here we go. Power on. Super Mario 64. This was crazy for its time with the new 3D graphics and the 64-bit processor that it had. Nintendo's newest competitor at this time was Sony with the PS1, released just 2 years earlier than this, and that was already capable of 3D graphics, but Nintendo was the first to have the new analog stick to make 3D graphics and 3D movement more easy and more able to be played. Now, the graphics, I wouldn't say they hold up all that well. This was during the time where gaming was advancing, technology was advancing, so things were starting to change and improve a lot. And so it's still cool to look back on and see how the 3D graphics and how that all started back then. And Super Mario 64 is a game that people still go back to this day and still play to this day. You'll have the people who speedrun the game and all of that, and it's still a game people still love and enjoy.
Within 5 years later, the next console was already ready to go and ready to be launched, and that is the Nintendo GameCube.
The Nintendo GameCube was released in Japan on September 14th, 2001, followed by North America on November 18th, 2001. The Nintendo GameCube sold approximately 21.7 million units worldwide. The Nintendo GameCube controller was renowned for its ergonomic wide-grip design, featuring distinctively shaped color-coded buttons, large green A, for tactical, intuitive, and eyes-free play. Key features include dual analog sticks with a yellow C stick for camera control, L and R triggers with a digital click at the end. The best-selling GameCube game is Super Smash Bros. Melee with over 7.4 million copies sold worldwide. The Nintendo GameCube features 3D graphics powered by a 162 MHz GPU and a 485 MHz CPU, capable of processing high-quality 480p visuals. Alright, so here we are with the Nintendo GameCube, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Considered one of the best Smash Bros. Games of all time. People compare it to Ultimate. It's between Ultimate and Melee a lot of the times. But yeah, so Super Smash Bros. Melee and the GameCube. The GameCube graphics have definitely improved a lot and enhanced. And it's a big step up from the N64, and the 3D models look way better and more clean and animated a lot better. Nintendo was definitely more focused on the power of their hardware at the time, and considering for this time, the GameCube actually is pretty powerful. But that's only because Nintendo has some competitors, and now adding another competition to the race in the video game industry, which was Xbox, now during this time, and so they really did focus kind of more on power, and that's might be why the GameCube didn't sell as well as they wanted it to. Still sold fairly well, but for a Nintendo console, it didn't do as well as the others.
Now, this next console is my personal favorite, and the console that I grew up with it as a kid. and have a lot of memories of, and that is the Nintendo Wii.
The Nintendo Wii was first released on November 19th, 2006. Now, if you haven't noticed by now, the sales have been declining for each of these consoles since the NES's release. Well, besides the Virtual Boy. But now things are different for Nintendo. They're back in the spotlight with the Nintendo Wii selling over 101 million units by the end of its life cycle. The Nintendo Wii controller, or Wii Remote, is a motion sensing device launched in 2006 that revolutionized gaming by using the in-frame technology to detect 3D movement. Shaped like a TV remote for accessibility. The best-selling game on the Nintendo Wii is Wii Sports, which sold over 82 million copies, largely because it was a pack-in title with the console in most regions. The Wii mainly uses the same power as the GameCube at 480p because of Nintendo's focus about the power of the console during this generation. They weren't really more focused on power, they were more focused on fun. Alright, finally, here we are with the Nintendo Wii with Wii Sports. Finally, my favorite console, and literally my favorite game, or at least one of my favorite games. Now, the Nintendo Wii, overall, like, graphics-wise, it's not inherently bad. Like, yeah, I know it uses the same power as the GameCube and all that. Like, yes, it's backwards compatibility with the GameCube, so you can play GameCube games. But it still holds up to this day, I would say. I mean, the same thing goes for the GameCube. So that's not like dogging on that or anything. But Wii Sports is a game that I still go back to this day and still play. I have a lot of nostalgia for this game. I played this game a lot as a kid. And it's just a good time overall. And I just love the crap out of this game.
After the success of the Wii, Nintendo tried doing something similar with their next console and try to replicate the same ideas as the Wii with some new features and new touches, and that is the Nintendo WiiU.
The Nintendo Wii U was released in North America November 18th, 2012. The Nintendo Wii U sold approximately 13.5 million units worldwide before its discontinuation. The Wii U gamepad features a 6.2-inch touchscreen acting as a second screen for inventory maps or off-TV play. It includes dual analog sticks, motion controls, NFC for Amiibo, a front camera, and an IR sensor to emulate the Wii Bar. The best-selling game on the Wii U is Mario Kart 8. With over 8.4 million copies sold worldwide as of March 31st, 2023. The Wii U was Nintendo's first HD console outputting up to 1080p resolution via HDMI. And now, we're here with the Nintendo Wii U. Yeah, so I never actually owned a Wii U during the time when it was, like, available, whenever it launched. One, I don't think I really knew what it was. Like, obviously I still had my Wii, 3DS, DS, all that. So I didn't hear about it until, like, a few years after it came out. And I think that's for majority of the people that found out about the Wii U because the marketing wasn't as good, and that's why it sold so poorly, only 13 million units. Now, some people will say this is like one of the most underrated consoles, and that the Wii U is super underrated and that we should go back to it and experience it for ourselves. So this was also during the time where I turned to the dark side and went over to Sony and got myself a PS4. But now here we are, trying out the Wii U with Mario Kart 8. The power of this system is obviously not comparable to the PS4 or any Xbox, but graphically, it looks really good. I mean, the 1080p graphics do stand out. It looks very, very beautiful, I gotta say.
After 4 years of struggling for Nintendo, their next console brought things back up to the top once again. And brought things back up to be successful for the company, and that, of course, is the Nintendo Switch.
The Nintendo Switch was released globally on March 3rd, 2017. As of early February 2026, the original Nintendo Switch has achieved a cumulative lifetime of 155.3 million units sold, making it one of the best-selling consoles ever and the best-selling Nintendo console of all time, passing the Nintendo DS. The Nintendo Switch controllers, primarily the detachable Joy-Cons, feature an advanced technology like motion controls, HD rumble, and IR sensors, offering versatile modular gameplay. Joy-Cons can be used independently attached to the console or paired with a grip, while the Pro Controller offers a traditional layout. The best-selling game on the Nintendo Switch is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, with over 70 million units sold as of early February 2026. The Nintendo Switch features custom graphics technology developed by NVIDIA. These consoles generally run up games at 720p resolution, while the original model can reach 1080p when connected to the right TV through a dock. The Nintendo Switch is another console that I really enjoyed growing up. The Nintendo Switch was a console that I had throughout my teen years, and there were several first-party Nintendo games that I really enjoyed on the Nintendo Switch. There was a lot of big AAA games that they released on this system, and even ported a bunch of games over from the Wii U, just because to give them a second life and a second go-around, because they didn't do very well on the Wii U. And, well, obviously because the Wii U was technically a flop. But, yeah, the Switch, the power of the Switch doesn't really do too much new compared to the Wii U. Yeah, I think it looks better than the Wii U, but overall, you're not getting into too much. I mean, it is the Nintendo Switch. It is a home console / handheld, so there is a lot of limited power to it, but overall it's a pretty great experience.
And now finally we are here with the latest and newest release from Nintendo, with their newest console that they just released just not too long ago, and that is the Nintendo Switch 2.
The Nintendo Switch 2 was officially released on June 5th, 2025. As of February 3rd, 2026, the Nintendo Switch 2 has sold 17.3 million units worldwide since its launch in June of 2025, making it Nintendo's fastest selling console ever. The Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Con, the Joy-Con 2 controllers, are approximately 14% larger for better ergonomics, featuring a new magnetic attachment system instead of rails. Key updates include a C button for game chat on the right controller, improved HD rumble 2, more responsive gyroscopic motion controls, and in some cases even used as a mouse. The best-selling games for the Nintendo Switch 2 console as of early 2026 are dominated by first-party Nintendo titles like Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Kirby Air Riders. Mario Kart World has sold 14 million units worldwide since its launch alongside the Nintendo Switch 2. The Nintendo Switch 2 features a significant graphical leap over its predecessor. Utilizing a custom NVIDIA, the console delivers up to 4K resolution at 60 frames per second when docked, and in 1080p at 120 frames per second in handheld mode. Now, as of recording this video, the Nintendo Switch 2 isn't even a year old yet, so it still has time to get more games and more things added for it, and more features maybe. It's still early, it's still a new console. There's not a lot to say about it besides that this console really does utilize the 4K and the 120 frames per second. And it looks really good, especially for a Nintendo console. And, you know, I guess it's about time. You know, we're in 2026 and Nintendo's finally giving us a 4K console. But, you know, we can't complain about that now.
And there you go. That's every Nintendo console from 1985 to 2026. A look back at all the history behind it all and how gaming has changed and evolved over time throughout the years. And this was just my personal collection that I wanted to show off, that I've been collecting throughout the years. And, you know, it really wasn't too bad because I've already had some of them from my childhood. So the prices of the ones that I did have to purchase really wasn't too bad. Well, besides the Virtual Boy, but we're not going to get into that. But, you know, now I own a Virtual Boy, I guess, so good for me. But yeah, so that's really all I wanted to talk about and share with y'all today. Let me know down below in the comments what your first Nintendo console was, or any console. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be just Nintendo. It can be PlayStation, Xbox, or even a PC. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about today. So, see ya.